Good afternoon, boys, or evening, boys and girls. It's a little later than normal, so happy Good Friday to everybody out there. Like I said, it is a little later than I normally would do this program, but took the wife out for an afternoon to the movies. It's our anniversary this week. We had our 26th anniversary on Wednesday, the 13th. So can you imagine someone putting up with my smart ass for all those years? So here's a picture of my lovely bride. Isn't she pretty? So anyways, happy anniversary, Leslie. She never watches these. She usually hears me from the her office next door, but she's upstairs right now. So anyways, we went and saw the not Harry Potter, the movie about Dumbledore. Pretty good. You know, I'm not really into those books, but my wife really enjoys it, and she said it was a pretty decent film. So for anyone out there who's into the world of wizarding, probably a good time to go, or it's definitely a good watch. So 2 hours and 20 minutes. So you may not want to bring a giant Coke in because you might have to pee. So anyways, so like I said, it's a Good Friday. The markets were closed today. So kind of a light day for me. I actually spent a good part of the late morning talking with a contractor here at the house because our heating, we have radiators around here in the house, and the boiler's been acting a little weird, and the zones haven't been coming on. So we decided when it was all said and done, we're just going to rip out everything that's in the boiler room and start over. So, but that's setting us back about 42 grand. So if anyone out there has any referrals for me, now would be a perfect time. So anyways, but seriously, if you got a referral, send them my way. Anyways. All right. And if it's your first time watching, please click on the subscribe button and give me a like, a thumbs up, or whatever platform you're on. Give me a thumbs up, and share it with some folks who might get something from this. So I try to keep it down on just regular people level. I realize I do talk in a lot of jargon half the time, but anyways. All right, well, let's jump in. And like I said, the markets were closed today, but let's take a peek and see how the indexes did for the week. Looks like the Dow Jones shaped up at about down 0.51. S&P 500 looks like it's going to finish up the week at down 1.57%. NASDAQ down 1.84. The Dow Utilities, let's see, they started up there and finished up down 0.87. And the Dow Transports started there and finished up 3.13% for the week. So, all in all, kind of a mixed week. For the most part, it looks like the big players were down slightly for the week. Again, things are slowing down, so it's not unexpected that probably going to see the market make a few attempts. There might be some dead cat bounces, and which basically means in a downtrend you have some up momentum. It's usually people buying the dip, but you see that term a lot in the in the financial pages and on the financial channels. Them talking about buying the dip. I don't know if this is the dip you want to. You don't want to catch this falling knife, quite honestly, in my opinion. But again, if the trends change, obviously, you want to put your capital back to work in the equity space. All right, well, let's go ahead. I close that for the week. Let's go ahead and look at some of the economic numbers that came out this week. Jobless claims came in at 185,000. The forecast was 171,000, so over forecast by about 14K. Last week's numbers were revised up from 166 to 167, but still, well below the 200,000 forecast for last week. Continuing jobless claims came in under forecast at 1.475 million. The forecast was 1.5 million. Last week's, there was no revision, stayed the same. So again, if we look at the longer term trend, let's back out here a bit. You can see, we're right back in line with where we were, during what we would consider normal times. As far as and I mean, even looking back at the peak in what was this 2008? The peak was only of that downturn. What was it, about 6.5 million people were on continuing claims. and on the initial jobless claims back in 2008, on a week, we only got up to about 600,000. And you can see here at our peak, just less than 2 years ago in April, it was 3.5 million. So, granted, there were a lot of layoffs and such due to the whole corona. But anyways, all right. Some of the other economic numbers that came out this week. First, U.S. Consumer Price Index. I know I talked about this in some articles earlier this week. Came in at 8.5%. The forecast was 8.4. And you can see, since we came out of lockdown 2 years ago, it's the inflation has it's really been over 2% since April of last year, and it's just been a nice steady climb. I know the talking heads on TV, Jen Psaki's been saying that, well, we might be past the worst of this and inflation might be peaking, but I don't know. Looking here at the producer price index year over year, they came in at an 11.2 number. I think originally when it came out, it was 11.5, and it was revised back. Forecast was 10.6. And again, you can see once we came out of the red in October of 2020 is when we went back over into the positive, and it's just been a nice steady trend up. So, until this flattens out, for both the producer prices and the consumer price index, really until you see either a flattening out or a retracement back down, I just don't see this as going away anytime soon. U.S. retail sales year over year came in at a 6.88 number. Last month's number was a 17.6, and you can see historically, going back a bunch of months here, over the last couple of years, it was it's been up in the teens for quite a while, going back to last time it was in single digits was March of 21. And obviously there was a lot of pent up demand, for retail sales. So that's, some of the reason why it was so high. So again, we'll pay attention to this to see, if it trends back into the negative. The U.S. Michigan consumer sentiment came in at a 65.7. Forecast was 59. Last month's number was a 59.4. So, it did jump back up, which, for the life of me, I don't know how anyone in Michigan can have good sentiment about anything. Have you been to Detroit? I haven't. I wouldn't go there. I don't want to get robbed. But seriously. Anyways, let's see. Industrial production year over year came in at a 5.47. Did pull back a little bit from last month's number of almost 7.5. Let's read the definition here. Industrial production measures the change in the total inflation adjusted value of output produced by manufacturers, mines, and utilities. A higher than expected reading should be taken as a positive or bullish for the US dollar, while a lower than expected reading should be taken as negative. Well, if there's no forecast, how am I supposed to know if it's positive or negative? It's still kind of in the same little trend right here. So, well, we'll see. Right. Well, I had two articles I wanted to breeze through. One talking about the oil and gas, and then one about consumer protection as far as being safe with your money. So, all right. First one, U.S. to resume oil gas drilling on public land despite Biden campaign pledge. The Biden administration on Friday said it has resumed plans for oil and gas development on federal lands, a move that could break a pledge Joe Biden made while campaigning for president. The plan calls for the government to lease fewer acres for drilling than initially proposed, charge steeper royalties to oil and gas companies, and assess the climate impact of developing the acreage. There's probably more oil in the ground than we could ever use. So, all these, tree huggers, they drive me nuts. And isn't carbon dioxide a good thing? I know I've covered some articles in this last year about greening of the planet. We actually have more trees and more, green parts of the world than we did 30 or 40 years ago. I know parts of Africa have actually started to go from, desert to, having grasslands and brush and things like that. So, all right. The proposal was quickly denounced by several environmental groups. Well, who cares what they think? With one calling it, quote, a reckless failure of climate leadership, end quote. Oil industry groups praised the move, but said it didn't go far enough. The announcement by the Interior Department made late Friday before a holiday weekend. They always do this stuff on a Friday, especially on a day like this. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on. In its latest move to reform the federal oil and gas leasing program since Biden took office in January of 2021, the administration has faced ongoing pressure to address high energy prices driven by the economic rebound from the pandemic and Russian invasion of Ukraine. The Democrat had pledged several times during his presidential campaign to halt federal drilling auctions, but that effort has been stymied by a court challenge from Republican-led states. Woo, go red. Good job, guys. During a campaign event in Hudson, New Hampshire in February of 2020, Biden told the audience, and by the way, no more drilling on federal lands, period. The Biden administration has taken several steps to tame surging gasoline prices and inflation, but made worse by crude oil price spikes due to the war in Ukraine and subsequent sanctions on Russia by the United States and its allies. Well, I have a chart that shows that price of gasoline was going up dramatically all of last year, well before the whole Putin price hike. Inflation is seen as a significant liability for Democrats heading into the November midterm elections. Friday's announcement would make roughly 144,000 acres available for oil and gas drilling through a series of lease sales, an 80% reduction from the footprint of land that had been under valuation for leasing, the Interior Department said in a statement. It would also require companies to pay royalties of 18.75% of the value of the extracted oil and gas products, up from 12.5%. Well, that seems like a good deal. Let's add some extra costs to the oil and gas, getting it out of the ground. That will probably help with inflation, right? Right? I sound like Ben Shapiro. Really? The agency will issue final environmental assessments and sale notices for upcoming oil and gas lease sales as early as next week, including ensuring tribal consultation and broad community input, the Interior Department added. The Center for Biological Diversity and environmental groups slammed the Biden administration's decision. Aw, go cry somewhere else. Quote, the Biden administration's claim that it must hold these lease sales is pure fiction and reckless failure of climate leadership, said Randy Spivak, public lands director for the group. Quote, it's as if they're ignoring the horrors of firestorms, floods, and mega droughts and accepting climate catastrophes as business as usual, end quote. Yeah, again, these people who get all wound up about the environment, you're getting this information from the same people who've lied to you about coronavirus being far more deadly than it was, Trump, Russia, the whole Russia scandal that everyone made a big fuss about, which was a complete lie. The same government and media lied to us about weapons of mass destruction, Iran Contra. They got us into the first Gulf War, which was built on a lie with babies in incubators getting tossed on the ground. Every major, war that's happened in my lifetime, going back, I was born at the end of Vietnam. That was started on a lie. The Gulf of Tonkin was, a complete fabrication, which, what was the end result? 60,000 dead Americans and how many millions that were scarred from it? I just don't trust these people. I'll keep it clean. It's a Friday. It's Good Friday. Jesus died this day, I think. Or would he die this day? Yeah, I don't remember. I don't go to church. Right. So like I said, anyways, it's aggravating that, these loons who think the world's going to, burn up in the next, now I'm hearing 3 years to save the planet. Come on, go to Climate Skeptic on Reddit and you can go and read through thread after thread debunking most of these claims that these yahoos make. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the last article. It's kind of a consumer protection. The title is a retired nurse lost 43,000 to Bitcoin. Watch out for red flags online. Well, let me step back and finish my thoughts on the oil and gas. This should actually be good. It should, if they actually are going to open up more, drilling land for people or for companies. Granted, it's going to take a while to get that, to do the studies and all the crap that's involved with even drilling the hole in the ground in the first place. So it's not going to be an immediate impact, but it is a step in the right direction. And I will give Mr. Biden some credit for doing the right thing at least once. I can't think of many things he's done right, but I didn't think of many things that Trump did right. So it's I hate both the red and the blue, but there's. Team Red seems to do more things that I sort of agree with, but not that often. Don't get crazy. All right. So this article about Bitcoin, let's go ahead and dive into this. A New York retired nurse lost 43,000 of her life savings to Bitcoin scammers after transferring the money to them through a malicious computer pop-up. An unfortunate reminder to be vigilant when it comes to your money. The transfer the woman who was using her work computer said she was told to send the money through a wire transfer and Bitcoin ATM, which converts dollars to cryptocurrency. The New York Post reported the ad pop-up stated she had to move her money to a new location so that her computer would not get locked and her money stolen. Bitcoin ATM transactions can't be reversed. Todd Mayer, president of financial crimes consulting firm BitSource AML Solutions, told ABC affiliate WKBW. It's always important to vet your investment decisions in all accounts, but especially retirement savings. Cryptocurrencies need not be entirely avoided, but they should, be treated as risky assets as they are. Many advisors suggest keeping these investments to a minimum in retirement accounts and investing in them in a separate account. Investors should also be comfortable losing whatever money they put into these alternatives, just as they would if they were gambling in a casino. I don't know. I was pretty good at blackjack. The odds are actually pretty close to 50-50. So if you know what you're doing, you can actually make a nice little side living sitting at the blackjack table 5 hours a day. It's a hard grind, though. I did it the year we lived in Las Vegas, and it wears you out. In this case, however, savers need to be watchful of others trying to siphon their hard-earned dollars. Financial scams are common and can affect retirement accounts, savings accounts, and Social Security benefits, to name a few. Pop-ups are a fraud tactic. In some instances, they show up as a warning, as they did with this retired nurse, while in others, they might look like a virus or a text message notification. If you receive links via email, direct message on social media platforms, or text messages, confirm with the sender, if you know them, that the link is legitimate and was meant to be shared. And when they come from financial institutions, confirming the spelling and legitimacy of emails, URLs, and signatures. You can go a step further and call the customer service line from the institution's website or business cards, not the email or message you received, to check that this was truly a message meant for you. Scammers may also call individuals with similar storylines, according to Charles Schwab. The financial firm also suggested individuals never allow remote access to a computer unless it's from someone they trust, to have antivirus software regularly check a computer, but not rely on the programs alone to thwart scams, and to avoid relying on caller ID to tell if a phone call is legitimate. Along with demanding money immediately, there are a few other red flags to watch out for, such as those where individuals are told their family members are in financial trouble, or where people online get to know each other romantically and then ask for money. There are other ways to protect against potential scammers. Update your passwords and make them difficult to decode. So avoid words like password. Probably a good idea. Keep your personal information private and avoid oversharing on public social media platforms. Scams continuously evolved during the height of the pandemic. Many were offering cures for COVID. I think there are some cures for COVID. It usually involves healthy living and some vitamin D. But I'm not a doctor, so don't take that as advice. And never feel too embarrassed to reach out for help, be it a family member or a friend or authorities, depending on the circumstance. Individuals can reach out to their financial firms or other agencies, such as the Social Security Administration, the Department of Labor, and the Federal Trade Commission. So, good little tips there. So be careful with online scams. I know in my work email box, I get a ton of spam and all these all sorts of it's amazing the type of stuff they come up with. You've been watching porn on your computer. Hey, send us some money, or you owe us this invoice for this business you've never done business with. Those are the most creative ones. Are the invoices that. For a company you've never actually done any business with. It's like, well, I've never heard of you. I'm the only guy here at this company that pays the bills, so you're probably a scam. And the ones for, trying to, blackmail you and it's like $1,700 is what they're asking for. It's like, seriously, dude, and it's like so boilerplate that you just copy it, or you do a copy of it and then do a Google search, and it's like, oh, this is crap. So anyways, be careful out there. Don't get scammed by morons. And anyway, so That's everything I had for today. Still went 20 minutes, but like I said, it's a holiday weekend for a lot of folks. For those who, the Christians out there who celebrate Easter, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Go find some eggs and, have a picnic. That's what we used to do back when our kids were little. And we lived in Jacksonville. We'd usually go over to my in-laws' house and let the little kids, search for eggs and eat some overcooked chicken on the grill and try to avoid food poisoning from the potato salad been sitting out in that hot Jacksonville sun. So anyways, but like I said, hope everybody has a great weekend. If you need anything from me, don't hesitate to give me a call or shoot me an email. All my contact information is at dsafinancialgroup.com. And like I said, hey, I got to pay for all this furnace work in the next week. So if you've got a referral, send them to me. I don't want to have to eat ramen for the next year because the wife will put me on on an allowance. So anyways, all right. Well, like I said, hope everybody has a great weekend, and I'll be back on Monday. So talk to you then. Bye-bye.